Hello everyone. Welcome to episode 9 of Wasted Wanderers. I am Jaydeep from Bay Area, also known as JD, and I have with me Abhi from Vancouver. Today we're going to cover three important events that's happening in the world that is at the intersection of tech, politics, business, and economics. So strap in and let's get started. Abhi, how are you doing?
Doing great, JD. Thank you for that wonderful intro. Hope everyone's having a great weekend. And yeah, let's dive right in, guys. Let's go in for our first one for the day.
Okay, so this is very interesting, Abhi. Like ARM, which people don't know a lot about, is now getting into designing AI chips. So, what does that mean? For decades, ARM has been the silent engine of the tech world, providing the essential blueprints for nearly every smartphone in your pocket. So, do you have an iPhone? It has an ARM in it. Android, ARM. MacBook, ARM. iPad, ARM. So, it designs the chips, but it licenses out to other companies. So, just kind of like Nvidia, but a little bit different that we can double click on. But that blueprint era is over. So ARM just made a historic pivot from being a designer to being a builder by launching its first ever in house processor. They're calling it AGI CPU. So, what is it exactly? Well, right now we are light on details, but we know that this is going to put them in direct competition with their customers. So, who are these customers? All the tech giants, Amazon, Microsoft, Google. These companies license ARM and then they create chips in house for their data center for the various AI adventures they are embarking on. So, now the natural question is why is ARM doing this? Well, Google, they are trying to copy Nvidia's success. So Nvidia, as you know, is worth what, like $4 trillion right now, and it also kind of does the same thing as ARM. They also design their own chips, but they license out the tech so other companies can manufacture it. Uh, and what is happening is this is the year of agents. So we are slowly realizing, in the software world, that agents are going to be doing these work for you, right? So they're going to be running longer and longer and consume more energy. And Nvidia historically does not produce energy efficient chips. They are basically producing GPUs, right? And they're not very energy efficient. Whereas ARM, they come from the mobile world. So they have a history of making uh, chips that last all day on your phone. So this is their secret weapon. And in this report, it says that the early partners are Meta and OpenAI, and ARM is positioning by using them uh, as the essential foundation for future of this agentic software. So that was my take from it. Any thoughts on this, Abhijit?
So, my take is that, okay, this is a good move for ARM as a business. I think they'll be able to do really well. Now, we can expect a couple of years of, horrible rubbish that is built by ARM. The reason is that design is sound and it has been in use for many years. So, as JD was saying, right, if you have an iPhone, you have an Android phone, you have a MacBook, or even your latest Windows PCs, everyone is using an ARM architecture chip. And the reason these chips are so cool is you can literally use the same bank of memory for your GPU, like your graphics workloads, your regular processing workloads. So, and there is basically a quick exchange, or there's basically a very quick allotment to which core is being used for what type of a what type of processing. So that's why you can condense everything down to one small chip. Now I want to draw everyone's attention slightly away from this headline a bit and show you guys something else that shows up, further down in this article, which is this. So ARM's price is at 81 times price to earnings, whereas the next in line is AMD, and it kind of goes all the way down to Nvidia, which is at 21, maybe 22x. And then this whole index is kind of sitting actually above Nvidia. So your Nvidia, Qualcomms, and your Microns are a lot lower, right? From an investment perspective, there is only one lesson: never, never, never overpay, right? It's a great deal for ARM. It's not a great deal for stock market investment. You can speculate on it. You can have a technical indicator on it. Um, sure, you might make some money, but if you're thinking of this as a long-term investment, I would definitely not be betting anything on ARM right now. Right now, ARM is basically a bunch of very intelligent people who can design things on paper and then they license it out. Taking paper and converting it into finished product is an entire business in itself. That's what allows all these other companies to actually thrive, right? So I would give it at least 4 or 5 years for ARM's own built chips to start making any sense. This is a very highly, highly precise art on how these chips are built. The design is pure genius, no doubt, but the production and the execution of that is another ballpark. So this P to E multiple, once the rosy days are over, will come down to more reasonable levels, tens, 20s, and whatnot. And that time we can consider it for from an investment perspective. Everything that goes up too far, even your Max 7s, they have fallen in the past week, right? So I think I would love to see ARM's chips coming back into the market, or not coming back, but ARM's own chips into the market, because that increases competition, and then obviously will have a positive impact on pricing and it'll go down, right? I would personally love to see this because I am a hardware hobbyist myself, so I want to build my home lab. Things have gotten very expensive. So from a competition perspective, I'm actually rooting for this. But I also know that this is going to be a long journey. It's it's a positive start, but I think the fruits will only be visible and from an investment or from even a market price rationalization perspective, it'll be 5 years, because ARM's built chips will have to uh, start matching that quality essentially, and there will be production issues. It's guaranteed there will be production issues. It'll be like it'll be like Tesla over promising everything for like the past 10, 15, 20 years, right? Like, oh, we can build the most sophisticated EVs completely with robots, and then what happened? They had to end up hiring people back, right? Even though XAI or Grok or whatever, they are pretty far advanced, but there is always a reality check. So I take this news as a positive start, but I know that there will be a rocky road ahead.
Yeah. One thing I want to add is that it's true that, Elon Musk and Tesla like overpromise and underdeliver like most of the time. But it's interesting. Whatever they under deliver is also kind of pretty cool. Like, the Teslas are still really good investment, like really good car if you buy them. They're building rocket ships. They're still the cheapest in the US or in the world, maybe, I don't know. And same for Grok. Like, we use Grok, and it's pretty good for what they deliver. Obviously, it doesn't meet the lofty goals that Elon always aspires to be, but I would say, like, for everyday use, it's pretty good. Coming back to your uh, earnings chart, like, it is true that ARM's stock is trading at like 80 times the earnings. That means at their current earnings, it will take 80 years for an investor to break even. And as you rightly pointed out, that is just crazy, Abhijit. Like, uh, nobody should buy uh, ARM at this uh, evaluation unless they're absolutely sure ARM is going to execute at every step. So the market isn't just betting on ARM's success, it is demanding flawless execution. Like, one missed deadline could trigger a massive correction. And let's not forget, Nvidia still not sitting still, right? They still have their own full stack uh, monopoly, and it's really hard to beat. So yeah, let's just see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, from one thing I want to pile on this is if everything goes according to plan, exactly, then by 2031 their revenue will be expected or is expected to be 15 billion. That is fiscal year ending 2031 March, which is 50% higher than its licensing business and makes ARM's business 5x larger than now. For a more reasonable target, I would literally say, okay, you won't reach 15 billion, you'll maybe reach 7, and then reassess the P2E multiple that would be more acceptable from an investment perspective. They'll get there, but there will be hiccups. All right, guys, let's get to the next one for the day. Let me pull that up. Oh, gosh, nice. No, I don't want. Okay, there we go. So let me get to this. So OpenAI is now announcing plans to shut down its Sora video generator. And the best part is, I think a couple of months back, Disney invested 1 billion in OpenAI's success. So, yeah, we are already seeing some sort of, investors butting heads of sorts. My take on this is that, okay, well, let's first look at what OpenAI is saying, right? That they just want to focus more on value producing goods or value producing products or value producing apps, right? The thing is, there are other competitors who have caught up in this space. So Google has VO, and then ByteDance has another one. Let me look at this. What is it called? Oh, ByteDance has CDance 2.0, right? So they are already generating pretty good quality video snippets. And I think CDance was able to generate some sort of a very Hollywood level realistic AI video based on a prompt, right? Now, OpenAI recently had a deal with Department of Defense. We don't know what the contents of that are. We can assume they are similar to what DoD was using it for, or what DoD was using Anthropic's technology for, right? So that'll be some sort of very highly sophisticated war planning, highly sophisticated target identification, all these kind of scenarios that show up in a war. Amidst all that, does OpenAI need a swanky video generator? I did a live on this on the Narad news channel where this whole comparison between why Anthropic's grandstanding, we don't want our technology being used for war, versus OpenAI saying, oh, democracy, uh, a quote unquote a pro democracy stand, and Sam Altman saying, okay, we have a process. The way AI should be used should be decided by the government, not by the AI companies. They are both playing to their customer base. Literally 0.3%, or I think zero point 0.1, or some very low percentage. I think 0.3% of OpenAI's users pay for it. Like ChatGPT users all just use it for free. But Anthropic has a niche in the coding software market. So about 33% of their user base is paying for their pro model or whatever, Cloud Code Pro, right? OpenAI's most reliable customer at this point is the DoD. And they are now going to build what the DoD asked them because they need to remain a viable going concern. So again, they're both playing to their customer bases. JD, your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a very near and dear to my heart kind of story because I actually did a startup a couple of years ago on AI based video generation. Now, this was right as the chat GPT moment came about. So it wasn't anything cool like this, but it was very clunky. Um, but yeah, even as a consumer of Sora, I used it a lot. I really like the product, but I can see why OpenAI is killing it. This was a tool that was supposed to replace Hollywood, but now is being sent to the graveyard. Right. I mean, it was introduced maybe 15 months ago, and now it's been cancelled. From what I know, Sora was a compute furnace. So that means like it was very, very expensive to run. So I read somewhere that just generating 10 seconds of video costed OpenAI like $130 in hardware expenses. So I think it had something like a $15 million daily burn rate. So it was more of a luxury experiment, and the unit economics of OpenAI just couldn't justify it. Uh, they could sustain it for a bit because OpenAI is not a public company, so they can burn a little bit on these side quests. But I think now they're focusing on going public, so they need to cancel all these side bets that they were trying to do. So from what I can gather, this is more like a redirection. So OpenAI is moving the Sora team away from the pretty movies to enterprise, which is more profitable. Now, another big point here is OpenAI is feeling the anthropic pressure. So it's feeling the heat from competitors like Anthropic, who have skipped these shiny video toys to focus entirely on enterprise grade coding and text. And it turns out that coding and text is a perfect gateway into enterprise market and a very easy sell on productivity. I mean, even where I work, like my company is all in on Claude. So by killing Sora, OpenAI is signaling the Wall Street that the future IPO investors, they are done with this AI slop stuff, and they really really want to get into enterprise where it's a higher margin business. um, I know that I read somewhere OpenAI is around 70% consumer, 30% enterprise in terms of revenue, whereas Anthropic is the opposite. But Anthropic is going faster because the enterprise market is growing faster for AI products. So I don't know, like OpenAI already has a brand value. they're ready to get serious about the profitable business. So now they have to go out after these corporate accounts. um, so is the AI hype officially dead, or is Sam Altman just pivoting to something bigger? I don't know, we will see.
Yeah, I think we are finally seeing some sort of demarcation in the AI world. Like the winners of each little segment are being defined. So Claude or Anthropic, they will probably end up dominating the enterprise retail space, what I would call, you know, so software programming or using AI in daily jobs. Um, OpenAI will become probably some sort of a government's or like the an administration pet where they will be solely focused on defense deals. Your Lockheed Martins and Palantirs and all, they will continue to use OpenAI's technology. And some for retail fun, someone else will probably show up. Uh, my bet is gonna be on Gemini because I've always felt Google is the most well positioned for creating daily use technologies just because they came about as a company just for indexing the internet. I think Gemini will become Chat GPT in a few months essentially, and they will retain that position. And for enthusiasts, I think there is a market within the daily use space who are just enthusiasts of trying to play with systems, break them, push them to the brink, kind of like the uh, Linux of artificial or LLMs. That I feel would be Grok. This is my take. Like Grok will become, because Grok allows you to just say, can you give me an unhinged response? And it'll give you an unhinged response. All these other ones are designed to be politically correct. So I can use Gemini for daily usage. If I want to produce code, I'll just go to Claude. And if I just want to get some cutting edge answers and be like, okay, cut all your filters out and give me the quote unquote the truth, then I will just use Grok. I think that's where all these players will sit. I think the toughest time for any of these to make money will probably then by extension be Grok, just because that'll become the enthusiast market if my hypothesis is correct. Because as we know, no one pays for Linux. The whole point is everything is open source and free, right? Only time will tell, but that's where we stand. All right, guys, let's move to our third topic for the day. Let me open up. You know, if you're talking about the government, there is no point in not touching the US Iran war, right? Like, okay, let's do this. This is the best I can get. So, this is at this point this is a this news is slightly old, but we will give you guys an updated picture as well. But about a week back, I think a week and a half back, the largest LNG plant in the world was attacked by Iran. And again, it suffered extensive damage, and the market impact has been more severe in Asia and Europe. The primary reason is most countries in Asia and Europe don't have natural resources of their own to be able to produce LNG. They are net energy importers, most countries. Now, the latest on this is that for the next 5 odd years, all the companies that were relying on Qatari LNG have basically said we cannot fulfill our contracts. Right? JD, let's take your introductory thoughts on this and then we can unpack this a little bit more.
Sure, yeah. So again, I want to preface this by saying, like, we are not going to cover the Iran war story by story, right? We are not war journalists. We want to look at the impact of the tech, economics, and politics. So that's why this is a good story on that. This is like a good snapshot. So, the world's largest gas plant is in flames, and the energy bills are about to go up. And that's why this is an important story. So, Qatar just reported extensive damage on Ras Lafan, and this, in my view, is a beginning of a global energy reset, right? And because this Ras Lafan is not just a plant, it provides 20% of entire planet's LNG, right? Like, that's crazy. The damage to this hits all developing countries equally, some more than the others, which we can discuss. But specifically, India gets hit harder than almost any other nation, right? Uh, India recently actually signed a massive 20-year deal with Qatar to secure LNG through 2048. Now, with this plant destroyed, Qatar is now saying this was force majeure, which means just because of the force of nature, we can't guarantee these low prices anymore. So now it's forcing India into the wild west of expensive global spot market, which India cannot afford to do right now. So, I mean, I'm seeing reports of LNG shortages in India, and India is very sensitive to this kind of food security, right? It's a developing market. It's a big global economy, but it's growing fast. So this it needs all the energy it can get. Abhijit, like every street side stall in India, and almost every household has those LPG cylinders, right? Delivered via the cylinder bhaiyas. And the economy of India actually runs on it. So now, because of this, what is happening? Now, India is trying to diversify its energy basket, right? So the math has changed. The crisis had forced some diplomatic pivots within India and its neighbors to lean more heavily on the Russian imports and expensive American shipments to keep the lights on and the factories running and the stoves warm. So we saw recently, I think Trump provided waivers to some countries, including India, to buy the Russian imported oil and LNG. So that was done as the result of this. Uh, but yeah, like, things are changing quickly, so we don't know where this will end up. Yeah, your thoughts, Abhijit?
So most Indian households, I think if you look at the Indian landscape, like the urban landscape, even the rural landscape, like everyone has some sort of a LNG based cooking workflow, right? Either you have a line directly coming to your house, like you would typically see in the houses in the West, or if you don't have a live connection, then you rely on LPG cylinders, which are about 15 liters, which would be about 3.5 gallons. No, yeah, about 3.5 gallons. But we are seeing that the cylinders are now going to be only filled up to, I think, 10 or 12 liters. That's already happened. They have already made that they have already made that announcement, right? So you're getting two-thirds of the quantity. I think that's how they are saying that, okay, you pay the same price as a full cylinder, but you get only two-thirds. So essentially, overall, it's not a price shock, but it's a quantity shock as of now. Let me quote PM Modi recently. He said, a crisis is developing around the world regarding petrol and diesel. Might I add LNG to that. Our global relations, the support we receive from various countries, and the strengths we have built over the past decade have enabled India to face these challenges resolutely. These are certainly challenging times. Today, through Man Ki Baat, which is his, I think it's his monthly or bi-week. I don't know the frequency, but it's a podcast he does pretty regularly. I will once again urge all my countrymen that we must unite and overcome this challenge. The Prime Minister added, right? Look, India will have to just have alternatives for LNG. From my knowledge, there were very little reserves when it comes to LNG. There were reserves for oil and diesel, not so much for LNG. It was it was maybe we have seen a very extended period of normalcy in the Middle East, right? You had skirmishes going on between Israel, Iran, the usual players doing the usual things. But overall, the Gulf was fairly unaffected for a long time, except the conflict in Yemen, right? So, yeah, Qatar was stable, Saudi was stable, Oman was stable, UAE was stable. These countries were not facing any issues. They were, it was all a bed of roses. Now, with the Strait of Hormuz choked and Iran continuously proving that they have what it takes to keep that choke point with them, it it's gonna make Russian minerals and Russian, not minerals, but Russian renewables a lot more expensive in the market, and they are going to make them a lot more desirable. Because at the end of the day, no one screws around with Russia. You just don't. Otherwise, you know, you are you are encouraged to not do it ever again in many meaningful ways. So I believe that talks between Russia and India have landed that okay, Russia will also sell to India on market rates, right? Or maybe slightly lower, but the gravy train of cheap stuff is essentially over. And in that context, the PM is saying that okay, we'll have to unite as a country. Sitting here in Canada, we are already seeing gas prices in the Vancouver area. This is more than 2 cat to a liter now. It's persisted for over a week. I'm expecting it to persist like this minimum till the end of the year. And again, there's a whole different angle to this, that Canada should be the one country where people should be getting $1 a liter. But that's another rabbit hole for another day. Uh, Challenging times ahead, everyone. I don't have too much positive news or too much, I just don't have too much positivity hanging on this. I would literally encourage everyone to cut down on expenses as much as you can, because you just don't know what the next 1 to 2 years are going to look like. There is no war that gets finished in a week or two, minimum months. But as we have seen, every war that has been started over the past 5 years is still going on. So I have no reason to believe that this will uh, this will end anytime soon, at least till the end of the year.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I also think this is the death of cheap gas. So before this strike, some financial analysts were actually predicting that there's a global gas glut and there are going to be really lower prices coming about. But that dream is dead. Uh, European gas, I've heard, have jumped 35% in a single day, signaling a permanent risk premium that every consumer will feel on their utility bill. And India just lost its energy safety net. Not just India. Think about China. China is the biggest consumer of LNG. They power their factories of cheap products with this. They power the economy with this. And with Qatar's biggest gas plant offline for years, we aren't just looking at higher power bills, we're looking at a total global reset of how China and India fuels its future. Yeah, so my point of view is this is not a quick repair job. Qatar Energy expects repair to take around 3 to 5 years. So this is going to be a long recovery, and countries should plan to diversify accordingly. So I agree with you. Yeah. Okay, I think that's it for
Yeah,
today.
one sec, guys. Let me show you guys something.
Oh, okay.
Uh, I decided to do this ad hoc, but let me show you guys what this looks like. Okay, let me open this. Desktop, desktop. Let me pull this up. Preview. Okay. So, guys, here is something we are monitoring the channel analytics, the Wasted Wanderer analytics all the time. Looks like most of our audience is from India, so sorry to disappoint you guys. We will cover Dhurandhar next week. The thing is, both of us have not watched it yet. Like, I have watched the second one, JD hasn't. So I'm waiting for him to watch it. We will cover it. Don't worry, guys, it's coming. Anyways, this is all I wanted to show you guys. We are listening to you. We are trying to get you content that makes sense. We are trying to get you content that is relevant to our audience. We are appreciative of the support that you guys give us week after week. Do like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, have a great rest of the weekend and rest of the week. See you guys.
Bye bye.